Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, subscribe. If you're joining me on any one of the podcast platforms that you find me on, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., make sure that you like it. Make sure that you subscribe. We always appreciate all of the support. It's a funny thing about expectations, right? Because everybody knows that it's only a matter of time before people want something from you. People demand something from you. It's only a matter of time before you demand something of yourself. So expectations become very interesting because expectations could come from the outside and they could come internally. And in sports, expectations, just like in life, can either turn you into a superstar or it could turn you into the GOAT. And I don't mean like greatest of all time. Somebody like Nick Saban has made a living off of rising to expectations. Now, somebody might say, well, okay, he failed in Miami, but did he really fail in Miami? Or did he just decide that the that the NFL game wasn't for him? I don't think you can say a guy failed in a couple of years when the trajectory of that team was surely going forward. I think that he looked around, he said, I don't want to deal with these dudes. I want to go back to a place where I have complete control over everything that I do. His expectations for himself were high. When he went to Alabama, anything short but a championship would have been a failure. Alabama's expectations of him were not high. They wanted a good, respectable football team again. They didn't think they were going to get the next Bear Bryant. They didn't think they were going to get the guy who would supplant Bear Bryant as the greatest football coach known to man. So when he came to Alabama, he had internal expectations. He rose to those expectations. As he began to win, and as everybody began to win in the state of Alabama because Alabama was good, the external expectations became such that anything short of going to the national championship game is considered a failure. And shout out to my boy Brandon Howard, who just chimed in. He said Jason Taylor said he learned the most about football from his time with Nick Saban. I don't doubt it. Anybody who's ever spent a few minutes with Nick Saban knows that Nick Saban's football mind is ridiculous. It is an encyclopedia of football knowledge that most of us could never even download if he was to just be able to like hook us in and transfer the information. Like some of our brains aren't large enough to be able to take in all that information. So that's a great point by Brandon. I think that the expectations from the outside became such where everybody had to rise to the expectations. And here's the beauty of what Alabama does. Alabama goes out and they recruit the best. They recruit the best. I don't think Alabama picks guys because they're Alabama guys. I think Alabama picks the best. Or at least the best that will choose them as well. They pick them, they give those out, and then the ones that choose them, they take them. And they go, you don't have anything guaranteed here at Alabama. If you come here and you ball out, Doesn't matter whether you're a true freshman or a senior, you'll play. And that's what Alabama does. And if you can't rise to those expectations, do whatever you can to be at the best that you can, this is not going to be the place for you. So over the years, anytime somebody transfers, and watch this, the funny part is anytime that someone transfers, people go, what's wrong with that kid? Because if you can't make it work at Alabama, that constantly cranks out pros at every position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, offensive line, tight end, D line, linebacker, defensive back, kick returners, kickers, punters, long snappers. If you play for Alabama and you go through their program, most likely you're going to get a shot to play in the NFL. And yet, even at that place, the expectation of them to work their butt off and get better every day is too much for players to live up to. So they transfer. And they transfer to other places who say they have the same standard. They say that they have the same expectation, but do they really? Do they really? Expectations are hard because once they're on you, they don't go away. Take Kirby Smart in Georgia. Kirby Smart took over a Georgia team that was already successful. No, they were not winning national championships. No, they were not in the national championship game. But they constantly, year in and year out, underneath Mark Richt, who's one of the best people in the world, underneath Mark Richt, year in and year out, they were competitive. They were winning games. Kirby Smart came in and did the exact same thing that Mark Richt did. Took another coach's players, tweaked some things, won a lot of games, recruited well. Every few, like would have years that are all good. One year would be like a 9 and something season, then boom, back to 10, 11 wins. Kirby Smart has been Mark Richt at Georgia. The problem is they don't want Mark Richt. They want Nick Saban. And they hired Kirby Smart to be Nick Saban. They didn't hire Kirby Smart to be Mark Richt. So as Kirby Smart is operating, doing the best job that he knows how to put his team in position to be successful, he's constantly being compared to the greatest football coach in the history of football. How do you get compared to the greatest football coach in the history of football? You didn't put that expectation on yourself. That expectation was heaped on you the moment that you stepped foot on campus because you came from that program. Because you're a defensive coach like that coach is. Because you have success like that coach is. Here's the problem. Here's the thing that nobody wants to say. Kirby Smart is Nick Saban. He's just Nick Saban from back when Nick Saban first took over at Alabama. He's Nick Saban of old. He's Nick Saban back when I used to say, if you're a wide receiver, why would you ever go to Alabama? They don't use you. If you're a 5-star wide receiver, 4-star wide receiver at Alabama, you're essentially just being used for your stars to help them rise up the recruiting ranks. But you're not being used. I remember saying that about a Nick Saban-led team years ago. Hey, Kirby Smart's the same guy. If you're a running back, yeah, go to Yeah, go to Georgia. If you're a defensive player, absolutely go to Georgia. Offensive lineman, right on, go to Georgia. If you're a quarterback, especially a quarterback that is a dual threat quarterback, you've seen how they've been treated at Georgia. Justin Fields was treated like a running back that they put in there for gadgets and QB runs. They have other quarterbacks on that roster who are dual threat quarterbacks, highly touted, who can't even touch the field. They keep going with quarterbacks who are game managers. Quarterbacks whose job it is to not make mistakes, make a play every once in a while. Those are the quarterbacks that they've had at Georgia since Kirby Smart has been there. Those are the ones that he's liked the most, or at least that have shooken out of the process. Those are the guys who end up with jobs. If you're a wide receiver in Georgia, you got to get out because you're wasting your talent. I used to tell wide receivers, especially primetime wide receivers, why are you not going to play for Mike Leach? Why are you not going to play for a coach who's going to throw the ball all around the yard? Those are where your elite wide receivers should be going. And you know what Nick Saban did years ago? He went, dang, we got all this receiver talent, and we ain't using it. Let me bring in some offensive coordinators who think more like this new game offensively, and we'll still just be the same defense that we've always been. We'll still be the same defense. Yeah, every once in a while we'll roll up against a team that can put points on the board against us, but guess what we'll be able to do? We'll be able to outshoot them because we are better at their game than they are. And Nick Saban flipped the switch. And what happened? Championship, 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 championship. This isn't brain surgery. Nick Saban got the message. Kirby Smart, who is the Nick Saban of when he first took over at Alabama, when he was over at LSU, where it was still, I want to run a semblance of a pro-style offense. I want to have things, be more conservative on that side of the ball. Guess what, man? That's not this year. That's not this age. And if you're not willing to make those concessions, you're not going to rise to the expectations that there are for you at the University of Georgia. If Kirby Smart does not win a championship at Georgia, his hire is a miss. I don't care that he went to Georgia. I don't want to hear about his record because they ran the guy out. They ran a guy out of town that constantly did what Kirby Smart is doing. They ran him out. Did he have top 5 recruiting classes every year? Nope. But that's even a bigger indictment on Kirby Smart if he doesn't get it done. Expectations are crazy. Before I get out of here, there's one more expectation I look at and I go, man, played that hand wrong. Georgia Tech. Now, I'm not here to criticize the coaching staff at Georgia Tech. They took the job and did what they felt like they needed to do. But the aura around the hire was that Georgia Tech was going to come to the 21st century. Georgia Tech was going to be a modernized team. Georgia Tech was going to be able to do what other teams do. And now year, 3 into the Jeff Collins era, they're still losing games to teams they have no business losing to. They still don't look like a team that's going to ever compete in the ACC again. And all the while, They ran Paul Johnson out of town, and talked bad about him on the way out of town. Maybe not Georgia Tech specifically, but fans definitely. Do I think that there was some mocking of that era from people inside Georgia Tech? Absolutely. I talked about it when it was going on. I thought it was horrible. Be careful what you wish for, because now the expectations are for Georgia Tech to compete in the ACC. And those expectations are currently crushing that program. It's too heavy a weight. It was a weight that Paul Johnson not only carried, but actually accomplished. And until the current coaching staff does that, they are going to be failing. And in another year, they are probably going to be looking for a job. That's the world that we live in. That's the expectations that come with college football. And if you don't rise to the occasion, you're going to get crushed by the pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree. But whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated on any podcast platform. And if you're joining me on YouTube, we're inching closer to 2,000. I'd love to get you to subscribe. Until next time, peace.